What I see Dylan Mulvaney is doing to trans people and women what minstrel shows were for black people.
That's contempt.
Ooh, nothing like room full of white people being like, this is the equivalent, I feel anyways, based on my understanding of gender and women and what's going on here with the minstrel shows and systemic racism that black people have experienced in America. So this is the same as blackface. This is like trans people are blackface. Essentially, it's the same thing. I would say all of the far right's obsession, to be totally honest with you, I wouldn't really know a lot about Dylan Mulvaney outside of Dylan Mulvaney is a very popular TikToker. That's like, that would be the extent of my knowledge. And then it seems like every single member of the far right is just like absolutely obsessed with her. They can't stop talking about her.
I think the argument they have is the suicidal ideation is caused by a lack of acceptance. And if everyone just accepted them, they wouldn't want to kill themselves.
Bullshit.
No, it's not. No. This is the fucking reality. This, like, no, there are multiple studies on this. Studies globally about this issue. It's one of those things where this has been researched so much that you are just standing in this very bizarre ascientific position where it's like, oh yeah, that's bullshit. No, it has nothing to do with that. No, it's just because they're trans, right? Because they're trans, that's why there's a hybrid. That's the only thing that explains it. Correlation, causation, I don't know. Just either way, it's bullshit. Super bullshit.
That's bullshit. And it's a hostage situation. So we have like these creepy, perverted autogynephiles basically holding children hostage with a gun to their head and saying, you know, if you don't.
Okay, so this weird, horrifying, I don't know, film that you all have painted in your heads, I can tell why a lot of you are doing violence and fucked up shit. None of it's true. You have either been lied to or there is a weird feedback cycle going on here. We're at the Ouroboros of like, what the fuckery? No. When it comes to children, gender-affirming care is using pronouns, letting them grow their hair out or cut it short or wear different clothing or learn a different name. That's it. There's no guns, there's no guillotines, no doctors holding guns to babies' heads or anything like that. None of it. You have been lied to. I like seeing this visually just really shows you how far the far right believes that like this is what they're literally holding guns to children. Kids are hostage. Their genitals are the price.
Go along with my agenda. This kid is gonna kill himself.
Right. Or
like, it's literally a hostage situation.
in the genderqueer book, this is the important thing I think a lot of.
No. They're pointing out that cis people, us, we're the ones oppressing trans people. We're the ones vilifying trans people. We're the ones legislating against trans people. We're the ones oppressing them. We're the ones making their lives harder. And when asked, hey, what made you have suicidal ideation? What brought that upon you? Largely, it's the way society treats me. It makes me feel worse to the point that I got there. That's the response from thousands and thousands of trans people globally in multiple different studies that have been done on the subject. It's like, if you don't want to listen, that's fine. Again, that's on you. You're choosing not to listen. You're just like, I'm going to shut the shit off. Fine. But that's what they're saying. So it's either you ignore that or you just continue down this path.
People don't know too, because I'm sure there's gonna be a bunch of leftists being like, listen to these transphobes.
Whatever.
There's actually, I've identified, and I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I've identified 3 different forms of transgenderism. I would refer to it because as an umbrella term.
Oh my God. On the behalf of cis people, I'm sorry. We're inventing our own forms of understanding now. Well, could learn a little bit about gender theory. Do have Google, have the ability now, better access to information than ever before, and could actually get the answers to my questions very rapidly. Or, why don't we invent new ways of understanding this? There's not 1, but 3 forms of transgenderism and transgender ideology that we have identified, say the beanie.
I don't just mean gender dysphoria. There is gender dysphoria. And that is where a person looks in the mirror and feels psychological disturbance because the body seems wrong. They look down at their body and they're like, something is not right. That's dysphoria. There's also then autoandrophy.
Dysphoria can be experienced by cis people. Dysphoria can be experienced for a variety of reasons. You can have body dysmorphia. You can have dysmorphia in a variety of different ways in which it doesn't align with what you believe. It's one of the reasons why people can have eating disorders as a result of, again, body dysmorphia and stuff like that. Those are also medical conditions. Yes. this is still going to be your understanding of it, though. That doesn't change whether or not it's like, you can be trans and not have gender dysphoria. You can be trans, you can identify as a different gender than you were assigned at birth, or no gender at all, or agender, or gender fluid, or gender trash, whatever that is, as a result, and it doesn't require any surgery. You don't need to have your gender validated through surgery. You most likely will be asking for people to validate your gender through pronouns, names, stuff like that, based on the gender expression that you're going to want to do. Like, I know it's a little bit more than simply like penis means man, and there are some steps along the way, but I mean, again, fascinating to learn this kind of stuff.
Philia and autogynephilia. So apparently the NCAA swimmer is what they call AGP, where this is not
Leah Thomas.
Yeah, it's not gender dysphoria. It's a sexual arousal at being perceived or treated as female.
That's so weird.
What the fuck are you talking about? That is yeah, well, it is weird. I'm gonna agree with you that, just in the fact that y'all are talking about trans people in this way. Like, so they don't actually identify as trans. What they have is a sexual perversion to be recognized as a woman, and that's it. And once that sexual urge is satisfied, well, then it satisfies their cravings.
Then
Buffalo Bill.
there's autoandrophilia.
By the way, you're giving the game away. You're giving the game away right there when you're like, Buffalo Bill. Yeah. As in, you know, they're subhuman serial killers from the Silence of the Lambs. That's what they are. Perverts.
Which is females who get off being male. So in that book, Gender Queer, for instance, the woman who wrote it, that famous book with like the sex that they're showing kids, she says outright that the whole book is about how she is sexually aroused when people treat her or she is perceived as male. Like, that's not dysphoria. But there's a third, and the third is Dylan Mulvaney. And this is Dylan Mulvaney
is her own category?
Dylan Mulvaney's not trans. I don't think Dylan Mulvaney is aroused at the thought of being a female. I think Dylan Mulvaney is a narcissist.
It's like, it's so gross. Like, I'm sorry, but like, just to see cis people doing this kind of shit, like, they are just obsessed with sexuality. Like, this, it's so hypersexualized. It's like, well, my way of understanding this is that basically someone's only ability to get off is if they're perceived as a woman, and that's going to be autogynephilia, and that's, you know, that's its own perversion. And then we have other people who aren't actually looking to be perceived sexually as women. So this is just entirely a third new category that I'm going to have to classify as its own thing. We're going to call this one Dylan Mulvaney.
Hollywood type.
Agreed.
Borderline personality disorder.
Agreed.
And says, what do I have to do to get more views and likes on social media?
By the way, as always, all of this just to dehumanize trans people, to make them seem mentally insane, mentally incompetent. This is for fame. This is for, you're a trans trender. You're doing this for likes. You're doing this for that. This is a perversion. Oh, yes, clearly you're doing this because you want people to be sexually aroused by your female body parts. Isn't that it? Would you compete in sports? Isn't the entire purpose of that to make men sexually aroused by your body? And then that's how you validate yourself?
And so I've heard people say like, no, Dylan actually is trans. And I'm like, dude, AGP, AAP, the fetish people, they are not prancing around in the forest in high heels. They are not making videos where they sing about their bulges sticking out.
Oh, so maybe that's it. It's the theatrics. That's why they're so obsessed with Dylan Mulvaney. Because, like, yes, she's a very popular TikToker, and she does engage in things like musicals. She does plays, and it's that. It's the degree to which, because, like, it's similar to other times when it's like, I don't care, okay, about what adults do in the comfort of their own homes. I just don't want to have to see it. I don't care that gay people exist. I'm not saying they can't exist, but they shouldn't hold hands in public. I don't want to see two men holding hands in public and then potentially kissing. I don't want to see two dudes kissing because it confuses me. So I would rather that just doesn't exist anymore, okay? They can't do it in public. Whatever you want to do, comfort of your own home. Even though for some reason it's just like what the AI of my feed has kind of started showing me all the time. It really seems like the videos that I like kind of dictate the videos that I see. But either way, I don't want to see it. Out of sight, out of mind, you know?
Yeah.
And they're aroused by it. And then you have actual gender dysphoric individuals who I have the most sympathy for because they're like, what the fuck, dude? Leave me alone. Like, this weird.
So here you have where Tim Pool and his pretty hardcore bigotry is positioning himself. That's where he finds the tokens, if you will, the pick-me's, the individuals who are, okay, so these are the good ones. These are the ones that I'm willing to accept. If you have gender dysphoria and you happen to be in a financial situation which you can get that dealt with in whichever way possible, then I will accept you. At that point, okay, fine. You are valid and you are real. Everything else I'm pretty much going to interpret as some weird sexual perversion, mostly due to my own misunderstanding of all of this. But that's basically where I'm going to set the categories.
Weirdos are fucking our shit up, who are just like, I just feel fucked up, like my body doesn't match, and I'm trying. And we're asked to have sympathy for those people. And I totally do.
Agreed.
Somebody who looks in a mirror and they're like, what's wrong? Like, this is wrong. I'm like, damn, that's gotta suck. But then some dude or chick who's getting off on it, I'm like, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And then Dylan Mulvaney, who's like, I have a...
Where did you hear that? Like, what corner of 4chan taught you this? That there are certain, like Leah Thomas, like, it's only in sports for sexual arousal. So people will identify, oh, that is a woman. I am now sexually aroused. Where does this come from? Where do you have evidence of this being the case? Where multiple trans people have told you, well, I'm not actually trans. I've been pretending to be trans my entire life. What I am is sexually aroused when people perceive me as a woman. You know there are ways to be sexually perceived as a woman and not be trans. You can be a femboy. You can be a drag queen. There are multiple different ways to be perceived as a woman. And it doesn't mean that you were trans. These are separate things, entirely separate categories.
Bulge, look at my bulge. I'm like, I'm not looking at your bulge, dude. Yet you are not, this is not what trans people do. And so Dylan Mulvaney to me is like...
Why are you watching the video? I'm guessing it's, if this is not your scene, it's not for you. This is not something that perhaps entertains you. I don't, oh God, why am I forced to watch hours of this content against my will? I just gotta get through it all. God, why is she making me do this? I hate this.
Any other Hollywood celebrity or actor who gets a nose job or facial surgeries or laser hair removal so they can be on camera. That's what Dylan Mulvaney is doing.
I agree. Have you guys seen the clip that's going viral right now of Dylan on the that one is so weird. But there's another.
Whoa, did she like get on her knees and affirm your humanity? Were there some tears? Did it really just like, oh, you lost your shit at that one, eh?
He was on that game show where he's
Have you seen
like,
that?
Oh no, let me pull it up.
Dude, there's a clip going around right now.
he's always been looking after fame, and like that market for a flamboyant gay guy who is like a theater kid, it's been filled. So you need to move to the next thing.
So Tim, it's a clip of Dylan on a game show.
Yeah.
I think it's The Price is Right, something like that, and he's like.
Honestly, all his guests just kind of strike me as haunted dolls that are now out of work for some reason, and they're waiting for their next break in Hollywood. Like that's all I can think of.
To guess, which of these 5 items also costs $5.99. I saw it last night.
Oh, his Price is Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he guesses correctly that it's like a can of soup, and it's for
it's
for money or something like that.
It's like 10,000.
Dylan literally freaks out.
Yeah, like every one of them,
for like
both of them,
3 minutes straight,
both him
just
and
like
her.
dancing
Haunted
around.
dolls.
I'm watching it, rolling around on the ground.
Yes. It's dude, he dances for so long, and it's so cringe.
It's psychotic. It's not just cringe. It's like.
They don't realize, by the way, this little Price is Right clip that's been going around actually, and they're not intentionally trying to do this, kind of validates closer to the concept that Dylan Mulvaney was always a woman and Dylan Mulvaney was always trying to live her true self. They're trying to associate, obviously, the idea of being flamboyantly homosexual with femininity, right? Because there are aspects that one might associate with femininity that can be associated with elements of gay culture. There are also elements of gay culture that one would not associate, because you don't need to associate directly. Like, that's the weird thing where it's like, oh yeah, gay guys are pretty much ladies. The gay guys are like women. And it's like, well, some gay guys will present very, very feminine because that's what they want. Some dudes are fucking bears, son. Some dudes are fucking Adonises. Some dudes could crack your fucking skull. Some dudes are as big as the fucking mountain. Some dudes have very hairy chests, very deep voices, and definitely are not the kind of people that you would probably want to mess with in an alley. That's just like, you gotta stop doing the monolith shit. It's like, oh, well, the gay means feminine woman. Yeah. It's like, if a gay guy wants to present in a feminine way, who gives a fuck? Who gives, okay, cool, let them do that shit. Gay guy wants to present in a masculine way, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Why do we always have to be like, well, obviously Dylan Mulvaney was always flamboyant and super gay. That doesn't mean that she's a woman now. That takes away the fact that she's a woman at the fact that I believe and I perceive the gays to be a little bit feminine. Little too femme for my taste. Femboys are a thing. Femboys are a thing. They identify as men. They are men who like to dress and look feminine, who like to have their gender expression be in like a very, very feminine manner. Long hair, makeup, dresses, skirts, all that kind of stuff. Yes, that does not make them trans if they have not identified as trans, if they don't explain that part to you. That like, again, this is not indicative or proof of anything other than this might not be what you think it is.
Kind of scary. Like,
yeah,
this is
100%.
somebody who's desperate for attention to an
100%.
extreme
Finster.
degree.
yeah.
Finster's
And
one
this is
example.
When I look at his videos,
It's 40 seconds of him dancing and
Yeah.
spinning.
at least it's like a minute and a half.
Like, you're
It just never stops.
mental, you know? And this is like what comprises this big tent movement of trans people. And a lot of them are okay with it. They're okay with Dylan Mulvaney representing them, honestly. It doesn't seem like they have that big of a problem with it.
I mean, some are, some aren't, but I like my understanding as a cis person has been that like more representation is more safety. So like as like Drew Barrymore having a moment with a trans woman where it's like, I affirm your humanity, that keeps more trans people safe. That makes, broadly speaking, in society a general acceptance more possible. And this is a good thing. These are good things. It's a good thing, generally speaking, when broadly society begins to accept queer people, because historically, it doesn't matter what group you are, even hey, this is another message for the gays against groomers. The fascies don't stop. There's not a cutoff. There's not going to be a point where it's just like, oh, so you were the good ones, were you? So this is what these are, the LGB alliance. So the lesbian and gays, but you're not down with trans people. You don't want trans people to be a part of the conversation, and you want your own rights to be separate from theirs. Ah, okay. Because it kind of seems historically that the survival of queer people really depends on unity. That's one of the reasons this whole project exists in the way it does. The rainbow flag. They started realizing that yes, lesbians and gay men have safety in numbers. Better safety anyway when they are going to get their like skulls cracked in by the police. Probably a better thing if there's more of us. Probably a better thing if there's an alliance. Probably a better thing if there's more people who accept us and realize that we're not actually degenerates and not a danger to children. That part's going to be useful and valuable in the future as well.
$5.99. Something else up here is $5.99.
Oh, it's Drew Carey.
Tell me what it is. You get
Wow, 2 years
okay.
ago.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
soup.
This
And
is
he's
just
acting
somebody
exactly
who wanted
the
to be
same
yep.
as now.
It's pretty fancy. It is.
A year into girlhood.
and dude,
What
he
does
knows-
that tell you? Oh, wow. Like, did you not realize what's going on here? You should all be having a moment. I should be seeing little light bulbs going off. I don't know what the fasci equivalent is.
he knows
Tiki torches, little tiki torches all of a sudden ignite.
exactly what he's doing, because when you watch the clips where he's like, day 300 of being a girl, like he doesn't even shave his beard. And he knows that like by not
And
shaving
it's like,
his beard, it's going to make
normalize the
people freak
beard,
out.
normalize the bulge.
Normalize the beard, normalize the bulge, normalize all of these things that include being male
You know,
as
another
being
thing
part of a
that's
woman.
really freaky about Dylan Mulvaney is I think that a lot of these people choose not only to they don't just want to look like a woman. They don't just want to present like a woman. They want to present like a certain specific woman
That like shows you how there's everyone's kind of found their position, right? Like the quartering's like, well, obviously I'm going to vilify non-binary and trans people for a living, but I like Blair White. Blair White, like I'm okay with Blair White. Blair White's okay. And then there's this thing where like even the Elijah Schafers and a lot of them are like, well, I mean some trans people are pretty passing. So what do we do about those? You know, like that's a little bit curious. And once again, trans men totally erased from the conversation. There are pro boxers who are trans men. And when you see the pictures of these pro boxers, yeah, they look like scary muscular dudes. Trans male athletes look like people that you would probably not want to be in a competitive event with unless you were also a highly trained competitive athlete in that category. So in those cases, what's going to happen? Is that what you want inside women's bathrooms? Is that who you want inside women's spaces? Is because like we've seen the logical conclusion of this. There has been trans men who are forced to compete in cis women's competitions, and yeah, they beat them. There are wrestlers who are trans men who have beat cis women, and it's like, well, I mean, this was the logical conclusion, I guess, but we'll just not talk about that aspect. It complicates things a little too far.
they idolized while growing up as like a little gay boy. And for Dylan Mulvaney,
her name is Mary Morgan.
it's Jackie.
Okay.
Or
Chase
Audrey
Sullivan
Hepburn.
Bruh. His name is Bruh?
Like, weird.
Sorry, wait, his last name is Bruh? Oh, it doesn't have it on here.
obsession
So,
with those
that's
women.
amazing.
It's
Bruh.
it's a minstrel show. It's a clown show.
Yeah.
What I see Dylan Mulvaney is doing to trans people and women what minstrel shows were for black people.
That's contempt.
Whew, nothing like room full of white people being like, this is the equivalent, I feel anyways, based on my understanding of gender and women and what's going on here with the minstrel shows and systemic racism that black people have experienced in America. So this is the same as blackface. This is like trans people are blackface. Essentially, it's the same thing.
For women, if you asked a man to
what
act
did
like a
minstrel-
woman and he acts like
minstrel.
that
So
shows
blackface.
contempt.
What is that? Oh, okay.
So like a white guy putting black makeup on and then running around eating watermelon and fried chicken is what Dylan Mulvaney is doing to trans people and women.
Wow. And like, not even with a pause. There's not even a moment where he's like, oof. Okay, hold on. Sorry. This does reflect poorly on me. I should probably do a little soul searching. If I'm now actively going to compare trans people to, again, minstrel shows and the effects that both blackface has implicating historical systemic racism in American society and culture, broadly speaking, othering black people to characters in order to oppress them and justify a lot of the horrifying things that have happened to them. That would probably be a moment where you're like, yeah, I gotta... Oof. Sobering, I hope. Sobering, right?
Because like, I know I bring it up a lot, but hiking heels in the forest,
It's so ridiculous.
like trans people don't do that.
yeah.
Like
It's almost like
That's
the
the craziest
teacher with
thing.
the
It's a
Z cup
caricature.
fake boobs. It's like you're seeing how
Oh, yeah, that one. I remember that one. That was wild. So all of you use that to justify the fact that things have gone wild. You know, Shoe and Head is like, this is a litmus test. If anyone can actually call out this particular trans person with these massive prosthetic breasts, then clearly we have a problem because this is a danger to children. This is sexualizing children. The fact that this is happening in and of itself is sexualizing and a danger to kids. Oh, turns out it was fake. Turns out it's not a trans person. It turns out that this is a cis dude who does not identify as a trans woman and actually does not, put on all of these prosthetic breasts and other stuff in his everyday life. Turns out that's the real story. Oh, so it's a hero. It's the hero we deserve. And you're like, wait, what? Yeah. Yeah, no, that's our guy. That's our hero. Holy shit. So he's exposing all of the ridiculousness of trans ideology. He's actually a troll exposing this shit. So wait, when did it stop being a danger to kids? When did that like turn off? Like at what point is the prosthetic breasts not a sexualized endangerment to children if it's a comedy routine? If it's like, oh, this is him just making a mockery of what he thinks a trans woman or a woman in general, is just a massive pair of gigantic tits, like, very, very straight of you, dude. That now it's no longer a danger. Now it's fine. Now it's totally cool. Now it's like, oh, okay, well, I was just a hero. Not all heroes wear giant prosthetic breasts, but this is the one we deserve.
far you can push it
Well,
because
that's
people
a
are
hoax.
accepting this. Like all of the mega corporations.
When it's convenient to their narrative, yep. Oh yeah, that's it. So what was once sexualizing and endangering and grooming and pedophilic is all at once heroic. Same exact thing. Doesn't matter, nothing has changed. It's the exact same situation. But in one case, heroic, and in the other case, pedophilia. Just so you know.
The literal White House, every strata of power is behind Dylan Mulvaney right now, and it just seems like what a sociopath would do for fun, as a hobby.
Right. It's a cult. Well, let's talk about that Drew Barrymore thing, because you guys saw that one, right?
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
And this is actually a
Sovereign
good
bra
segue into
said he would
dating
rather
and
take a
stuff
bullet
and
than choose between
feminism.
sleeping with
Because I was
vagina.
thinking about this.
Sorry, the Sovereign Bra said he would rather take a bullet than choose between sleeping with vagina Hulk Hogan or Dick Bacon. He can't even make the choice. Even the act of having to choose between having sex with Hulk Hogan's vagina or sucking on Megan Fox's cock, even having to make that choice. No, I would sooner die than have to decide. Why? You don't gotta die. It's okay. So this will never happen because, again, it's not based in reality. It's fun. It's a game. We're playing a game. And the game is basically just trying to wrap your head around this concept. And it's that you consider yourself to be a very straight heterosexual male, and yet you really associate gender with genitals. So because you associate gender with genitals, would you then have sex with Hulk Hogan's vagina over having sex with Megan Fox and sucking on her lady cock. That's basically what this comes down to. And if you can't make that choice, well, then, I mean, if you think about it, it kind of seems weird, right? That we associate gender so much with genitals, because at that point, now you're forced to have to make a decision. I love that breaks brains, though. I love that all of a sudden it's just like, what? Well, you get to have sex with Megan Fox, dude. Yeah, Megan Fox, bro. Megan Fox. Yeah, but she's got a dick. Oh, yeah. No, she's got a dick. Huge one. Massive. Huge. Girthy and shit. Yeah, it's a glorious spectacle. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so what's option 2, bro? Well, option 2 is you gotta fuck Hulk Hogan. You know? It's gonna be just like fucking Hulk Hogan. Almost like fucking Hulk Hogan. Except he's got a mangina. See, he's got a vagina. So you get to have sex with pussy. You'll have some sweet pussy tonight. But, the Hulkster, he's probably going to pick you up and probably toss you around a couple times. Probably, you might get body slammed 2 or 3 times, and be like, whoa, before you get down to the actual intimate act. But at that point, bro, you get some pussy. So what are we saying? What are we saying right now? How are we feeling this out, What's the over-under on this situation?
The other day, James Lindsay had this really great post where he said, cis women are learning their place kneeling before women plus who are better than them. Something like that.
Bro.
I thought it was really funny.
Trans acceptance through violent misogyny. Yeah, that's a shitty thing. The fact that that's all coming from Andrew Tate, the fucking motherfucker who's doing this whole, I was just playing a character, you see. Whoa, I'm not actually a horrifying human trafficking pedophile rapist. No. I'm not that thing. I'm a character of that. I play a horrifying human trafficking pedophile rapist to be able to sell you discount codes for Discord, and they're useless. They will make your life miserable. So to get access to a Discord that will make your life infinitely worse, turn you into a worse misogynist, possibly a sexual assaulter, really, really bad for you. You might commit some light crimes, maybe heavy crimes, depending on what you do. That's who I'm about. Yeah, it was all a scam. I'm not actually this alpha male human trafficking rapist pedophile. I happen to be a character. Yes.
And I was like, yo, you know what I think? I think that's actually the answer, right? Let me explain. So, Mary, there's this clip of you on the Whatever podcast where the women are talking about doing OnlyFans. Mm-hmm. And you're like, your kids did not consent to that or whatever. And she's like, whatever, I can do what I want. If I was there, my response would have been, yeah, Mary, you're completely wrong. Like, you're totally wrong about this. Like, this woman talking about doing OnlyFans is recognizing her place serving men. And if she wants to, that is good for men, right? Like, no, hear me out. She gets paid because men stand above.
Why are men obsessed then with sex workers and want to murder and rape them? Why are men constantly trying to control them? Why are men trying to human traffic them? Why are men constantly I must control women? Women cannot be financially independent. Why is one of the biggest female streamer on Twitch? She happens to be the most successful female streamer. She's also a sex worker, and that is what constantly is the thing that is the worst thing about her, that she has boobas. She's got giant boobas. She goes in hot tubs. She dances on a giant floating banana. She writes names, and I don't get to control that. I feel somehow possessed by her boobas. It upsets me, and this has to stop. We have to put a stop to this. We have to control her, and we can no longer allow us to take, there's a reason for all that, It's about the endless control.
Of her smoking cigars, throwing dollars at her naked body because she is property for them. And that's finally, these women are starting to now realize. You've got the story of the woman who was a cop. She quits to do OnlyFans. There's a story of a woman, she's an interior designer. She quits, does OnlyFans.
How does it get
These
to
are women
OnlyFans?
who are like, hey, wait a minute. I will get more stuff and live more comfortably if I just get on my knees for men, right? The point is, not that
I hate to be the first one to break this to you, Tim, but it's not just men who watch pornos. It's not only dudes. It's not only men who enjoy sexual pleasure or sexual imagery or masturbating to sexual imagery online. It's not. Yeah, the data is kind of clear on this. We actually know pretty definitively both what women enjoy and where and what they watch in what age demographics, like Pornhub, MindGeek, those horrifying companies. They got all the info. They got the stats. Turns out women also enjoy sex orgasms, sexual experiences, watching sex, reading about sex, having visual imagery of sex, listening to sex. Turns out women are into it too. Yep. I know. It's wild.
Actually agree with any of that, but you put them in the position of, are you going to agree with me that you are a servant to men and the only reason you have money is because males are throwing dollars at your naked body?
Yeah.
Or
are you the Pope in 16th century France? What is happening right now? Like, what is this medieval take? Yes, the very act of having a OnlyFans where you consensually allow people to buy either pictures or video of your body in any state you desire, and you can choose. You can either be naked or not naked. There are people who have non-nude OnlyFans accounts, and you can choose whether it's hypersexualized. You can masturbate with a cucumber or do nothing at all. The power that you have to decide that and what you want to consensually offer people to buy is making you an indentured servant, a slave, if I will, to men, to patriarchy. At that moment, you are now subservient to them.
are you going to reject it and be a strong feminist?
Their only point that they keep repeating is like, I'm going to be sexualized against my will anyway. Like, that's, women are objectified all the time and they don't get to
okay, so, well, that is actually true. Women are objectified and heavily objectified by society, but like, that's not the point that sex workers are making. It's also not the point that feminist sex workers or intersectional feminist sex workers are making. They're frequently talking about how the fact that this is vilified, that this is seen as something degenerate, that it's seen as something filthy, that it's seen as something that, again, just how Tim is describing it, that verbatim, like every word he said, that's a danger. That reinforces the dehumanization of sex workers. That promotes and allows men to commit acts of violence against sex workers, or stalk them, or hurt them, or go after them, or obsess over them, because yeah, they're degenerates, they're subhuman, and so this lady should do what I want all the time. No, they're people who are consensually offering you to be able to purchase a variety of different experiences by them. They are in control of that. They dictate whether or not they do that. They can turn it off. It's not as if there was just like, well, I wasn't going to do this in the first place, but at this very moment I decided I need to be subservient to men. I want to be more subservient to the patriarchy. I want men to dominate me, and I want to basically have them control me in every way. So that's why I'm starting an OnlyFans. That was the only logical course.
Any money off of it or benefit from it. So I'm just going to monetize the fact that I am sexualized. That means I'm empowered in doing it, which is obviously
you
stupid.
are. That is so true. The world's oldest profession. You know, men, they do the hard work. Men, they deal with war and politics. Women should be in the room on their knees for men. And I agree with you. That was a great point.
I know he's trying to fucking spin this around as some kind of feminist stance, but it's still deeply, deeply fucking condescending. It's extremely sexist. You can't take the position where it's like, you know what? Women who do this kind of shit, they're on their knees. They're on their knees for dudes, and dudes bring home the bacon. Men, traditionally, they're the ones in the office. They're the ones dying in the wars. They're the ones making the laws as the politicians. They're the ones dominating and controlling society. And when we get home, we expect women to be on their hands and knees. Wait, sorry, what's wrong with this again? I'm sorry, I'm confused. Wait, this is the thing that we wanted, right? Isn't this pure trad wife behavior? Oh, it's because it's for other men as well. Oh, that's the part that we don't like. Okay, so you still want the subservient servants, you still want the bang maid, you still want the woman who's basically just going to service your dick all day, and that's good, that's great, right? Cool, awesome, this is what we have at home. But no other man can have that. I also need to control that aspect. It's the fact that another man could see her naked. Another man could be sexually aroused by her body. Another man could see her as something that he wants to jerk off to. Well, that's the aspect where it's like, well, fuck that. No, okay, well, that makes you a whore, a slut, if you will.
What are they going to say to that? They're going to be like, no, I have their money. Well, only because they choose to give it to you, but like...
That's a huge code.
They should look into Findom, who's in charge. Well, you know what? I think many of them, as well as many people on the internet, had their first experiences with Findom thanks to the good Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. I'm pretty sure Tim Pool's seen the video at this point. Too many people have. It's just being repeated on the internet over and over and over. Jordan B. Peterson thought that he would post some cock-milking fetish porn, which is under the category of Findom, where men, against their will, obviously it's consensual, but it is acted. It is a performative action where they pretend that against their will, they are being milked for their cum. And so, you know, there are a variety variety of different forms of this, and this is something that Tim is obviously familiar with, I guess, at this point. So yeah, maybe Tim could think about the cock-milking fetish porn of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, which he thought was a Chinese breeding program, and realize that not all porn in all its forms is necessarily about women being subservient to men. There's entire categories where men are subservient to women, both sexually or in other ways, or maybe they can't even dictate whether or not their cum will be extracted from their bodies to be used in a Chinese communist breeding program. That again is a genre of porn which we are now more familiar with.
They're like, oh, I'm the one in charge of that interaction. But
Yeah,
it's
but you
really
can't
like,
make food.
You're doing this out of financial desperation. There's no situation in which you're the person in charge.
Let me ask you this,
Have you
though.
guys seen the Don Draper meme where it's like, you know, he's like pitching an idea in the boardroom and it's like, we'll get them to dance naked
Yeah.
for the price.
Oh, you found her Twitter? All right, let's see. Sincere belief that Jesus of Nazareth resurrected from the dead seems too challenging for many of those who are outspokenly discontent with the secular materialist status quo. Ooh, you're pretty hardcore. Hi, Elon Musk. Are you in the mood to appear on my small podcast just for the lulz? I guess he didn't respond. They publicly humiliate themselves on their own platforms without any help from me. Such a weird look to try and publicly humiliate women on your platform. I hope you get picked, though, love. What was the public humiliation?
Your future children, if you have any, do not consent to this material being public and available for other children to use as a bullying bludgeon against them.
Well, honestly, like anything you do can be used against you, your children. Literally, Like us being.
Oh, are you serious? Because mom was a sex worker at a certain point. Kids can take a picture of your mother in a bikini that she posted to Facebook and be like, your mom's a whore. Look how she's a whore. Look at this picture. Your mom's a slut. Didn't know her tits were so big. Yeah, kids can be cruel. Kids can be dicks. That's not all of a sudden a reason why it's like, oh, so your future children didn't consent to your prior actions. Yeah, actually, your future children didn't consent to the fact that you may have actually had sex. Yeah, they didn't consent to that fact. And the fact that that's going to be public knowledge by their existence. You know, the fact that any of us, means our parents fucked. The fact that I'm sitting here talking to you right now means my parents fucked. Yeah, it's a disgusting concept. It's revolting to the majority of us, but that doesn't mean that that's like, oh, leverage that every kid is going to be like, bro, your very existence, bro, means that your mom's a slut. Well, yours too. Oh, God. Mommy, why? What did dad do to you? Fuck, oh God.
We're gonna bully
And you don't think that one is worse than the other?
Exactly.
You don't think that, you know, being on a podcast and talking about dating culture is like a little less embarrassing for a kid than their mother sucking dick on camera? Really?
I guess, but
There
like,
are degrees
it is
to
what
this.
it is,
It's
and I feel like
objective.
There is degrees, and I feel like people should just be taught to not bully.
Your future
What's with this music? It's like emo fascism. Doom, 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 doom. Do you not realize your mother was a whore? Your mother was a whore.
It's like a cheeseburger, and
Yeah.
we'll call it female empowerment.
You call it female empowerment, but my question is,
Wow, Sovereign Bra, and I assume Bra is a stage name. I could be wrong on that, either way. Pursuing truth, liberty. Jesus Christ, you're pursuing Jesus Christ? Where are you pursuing him? Where are you hoping to find that boy? Yeah, he's shredded. No, I get it. Trust me, I get it. And the coolest thing about Jesus is like he's kind of hot in every ethnicity. You know, black Jesus, super hot. You know, brown Jesus, super hot. Asian Jesus, like every Jesus, shredded as fuck. I get it, bro. I see you. Don't worry, we're good. And personal sovereignty. New world order. Disrespecter. Hashtag pure blood. We got a pure blood, everybody. If you don't know, pure bloods, and sometimes they go by pure comes, they have unvaccinated blood, and they also will only breed with other people who have unvaccinated blood because they feel somehow the vaccine can transfer, maybe through, I don't know, spiritual cum or pussy moisture or something into their bodies. So that's why they avoid it. Yeah, it's a thing. And then Bitcoin, of course. Well, I mean, what would this be without a Bitcoin hashtag at the very end? For those asking, yes, I'm the dude speaking in these clips. My name's Chase. These clips are from 33 and 28 of whatever, dating podcast on YouTube. What's the clip?
And said, Chase, would you rather smash the hottest trans woman in the world or the oldest woman in the world? Honestly, bro, the oldest woman in the world, because then I wouldn't be gay. Are you? And said, Chase, would you rather?
This motherfucker would fuck the Queen of England over the hottest trans woman on the planet. Bullshit. Bullshit. I call monstrous bullshit of the highest order. Are you fucking kidding me? No way. No way. No way that you enter a room in this imaginary scenario where it's like, okay, so we have the hottest trans woman ever. And it's like, yeah, she's a 10. Holy shit, she's a 10. Yeah, she is definitely a 10. She's a fucking smoke show. We should all be so lucky. And in the other corner, we have the Queen of England. Yes, that's right. The Queen. Look at her. Yes, she's ready for you. Oh my. Yes. So in one case, you're super gay, bruh. Yeah, bruh. If you go for that 10 over there, that hot ass trans one, fucking gay, bruh. Yeah. But if you go with the Queen of England, you can maintain the fact that you are super straight. You're so straight. You're so fucking straight, bruh. Look at this shit.
Smash the hottest trans woman in the world or the oldest woman in the world? Honestly, bro, the oldest woman in the world, because then I wouldn't be gay. Are you like, Chase, how dare you be transphobic?
Yes, actually, what the fuck do you mean?
Because if I had sex with a trans woman, I'd be having sex with a biological man. And I don't want to do that. Because I'd be gay if I had sex with a biological man.
That's not gay.
That's
And
gay.
I don't even shut the fuck up, actually.
By the way, I keep seeing clips from this show, the shitty ass show. Every single time I do, it's like the gotchas. It seems to be a room full of women being very respectful to queer people. That's like all of the right-wing clips they've been like showing as like, oh, we God, look at this shit. Look how scared everyone is of trans ideology. It's like, look at this clip. Not a single woman is willing to like answer what is a woman. That's how scared they are. Actual biological females will not answer this question. And like you watch the clip, it's like, oh yeah, trans women are women, and trans women will say that they are different than cis women. Just cis women and trans women are different. That's what makes them trans, and that's what makes us cis. Yes, that's by definition. And then it's like, you want to answer what is a woman though? Because you're scared, right? Oh no, I did. You're just not listening. So I'm going to explain it again, right? So this is again a gender construct that we use based on your presentation. Like it's the most rational answers, and everyone's like, yeah, fucking look at these bitches, fucking dumbass bitches, won't even answer. Won't even answer, fucking, because they're scared. Biological females are scared of fucking trans ideology, fucking bitches. I was like, no, you're just a bunch of dumb dudes who aren't listening. That's all it is. They're giving you the answer multiple times, and I would say in a very eloquent way as well, and being very respectful and nice. And they're like, well, why wouldn't you just fucking be transphobic though, you dumb bitches? What's going on here?
If I find a girl that I want to make my wife, and I find her super attractive.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what I would do. I would make her my wife. I would ask her to marry me and then make her my wife. You say
Epic.
You are a feminist. You're 100% a feminist.
That is feminist.
You look. You heard me say that. You heard.
Make her my wife, like.
Yeah, because that's what I would do.
It's like I'm an equal human, a woman.
What
It's not about
you
just
say
wanting
that.
to make her your wife.
Obviously, she would want to be my wife.
She has her own life. She wants to be your.
So when she said, I'm an equal human, a woman, you were looking for a retort there. That the gears were already turning. Where you're like, oh, how can I spin this one for like a fucking epic little, like, you know, one of those internet moments. I know this is going to play really well, right? And unfortunately, that moment has passed. You're now into the let's default back to the trad wife shit.
Her wife too.
Yeah, of course, but she's not
going
to.
She wants to go to the club. She wants to do her makeup.
No, she's not going to want to go to.
Weird, possessive dudes. Stop trying to prevent your women in your lives from having fun. And they're not yours. You don't own them. They're not cattle. You do not get to possess them as a form of property anymore. We've gotten past that, and it's good. It's a glorious thing. It's also, hey, do you like going out drinking with the boys? Do you like that? Do you enjoy that? Do you want to come home to the nagging wife? Where were you? Just having some fun. Having some fun with the boys. The fuck? Is it the boys? You know? Just playing some poker with the boys. What the fuck's going on? Fucking my wife. I hate my wife. Like when I go to r/are the straights okay, 90% of the shit is about how unhappy straight people are. It's just like nonstop posts. It's like, I fucking hate my bitch wife. Yeah, my fucking bitch wife. Oh, goddamn, my bitch wife again. It's like, why are you with her then? If she makes you unhappy, if she's mean to you, if she's cruel to you, if she talks down to you, if she's condescending to you, if she makes you feel like a piece of shit, don't be with her. She sounds terrible. She sounds like a horrible woman. I don't know why you're still why are you in the relationship where it's my bitch wife? I hate my wife. Take my wife, please. The ball and chain. Okay, you can do that. Why are you like consistently in this miserable relationship? Go find someone that makes you feel like a king. Go find someone that has like, and by the way, this could be a you problem. I'm guessing from a lot of the r/r the straights are gay, it really feels like a lot of like, yeah, my bitch nagging wife, blah, blah, blah. And there's so many murder fantasies. My lord, there's so many like, here's a funny card and it's like a pillow and it's like, here's the solution to my marriage. And you're like, what? Asphyxiation? Murdering someone is the solution to your marriage. Probably not a healthy marriage. You should probably get out of this marriage for the sake of both of you right now. This is not good shit. I don't get why this is such a hardcore genre. Like, on one end, we've got this idea, and this is, I guess, this is the pre-show. This is what you get beforehand. It's like, hey, my dudes, get out there, make women your possessions. Get yours and fucking make sure that she's subservient to you and make sure that she knows she can't go out, she can't go clubbing, she can't go dancing, she can't have fun, she can't talk to other men. Is she having a conversation with another man? That's the same thing as having his dick in her mouth. This is identical. So do not let her talk to another man or you're a cuck. You're all fucking cucks. And then it's like, okay, so we're all in loveless marriages where the sex sucks, we don't like each other, and we're basically together for the kids. It did not work out. Was not part of the plan. Kind of sucks. Kind of seems like shit, right? But then why is this like, it's on one end, it's like this is the advice being given to young men where it's like, yeah, you got to own the woman like she's your possession, brah. And at the other end, it's like, hey, all the straights are deeply unhappy in their marriages. It seems like these are sexless, loveless marriages where the men want to murder their wives. The murder fantasy was coming on way too frequently in r/the straights are okay. Like I thought, like, and by the way, I went through most of the catalog today filming a video. That's why this is all fresh in my mind. When I was going through that entire thing, working my way down, and I was like, there's probably at a certain point going to be less murder fantasies, but there was more, and they were worse, and they started including chainsaws, wood chippers, and other gross shit. It was way less funny than I thought it was gonna be. Not to mention that and the rampant sexualization of children in the weirdest ways, where there would be picture of like a little boy, he's like 7 or 8, and then all these comments being like, oh, that's gonna be a ladies' man, keep him away from my daughter. Yeah, better not let him near the house. He's gonna go after our daughters. And you're like, dude is 7. He probably wants cookies and to play some sports or games. What? Why? What the fuck is wrong with all of you? Like, stop this. Oh, just please stop. Why on one end is it like, well, by the way, it's the queers and the drag queens that are trying to sexualize children. And I would just like to say, based on how hot I think your little boy is, he's definitely going to want to impregnate my children at a certain point in our lives. So keep him away from the house, you know? Don't want that dude showing up. Like, what the ever-loving fuck? Y'all are so deeply confused. And hey, it's leading to bad outcomes. All of this is leading to bad outcomes. This weird ass possessive stuff, the normalization that women are our possessions and that we should be controlling them as men, is deeply unhealthy. Deeply, deeply unhealthy. And these end result marriages where it's like, hey, I'm in a marriage and I hate my wife. I want to, asphyxiate my wife in Roblox and all this kind of stuff. It seems like a deeply unhealthy relationship. If you are in a relationship, my dudes, to anyone, here's an olive branch where she is terrible to you. If she makes you feel like shit, if she's condescending to you, if she belittles you, if she is verbally or physically abusive to you, get the fuck out of that relationship. That is not a good woman, okay? There are bad women just like there are bad men. They are not a monolith. There's no such thing as the universal every single woman is X, every single man is Y. That is just not true. Just like there are bad men, there are abusive men, there are scary men, there are rapist men, but that's not every single man. There are good men, there are decent men, and there are men who are going to make you a lot happier than the person you're probably with right now who could be physically or sexually abusing you. So if you are in those relationships, doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, a non-binary person, doesn't matter, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out, okay? It's not enough to keep memeing about this shit and being like, my fucking bitch wife. My fucking bitch wife. Hate my bitch wife, eh, fellas? Am I right? Yeah, nothing worse than the wife. Then why did you marry her? Why are you like, let's do this for 60 plus years. Let's raise children together. Why not? It sounds like a great nightmare of my own design. Why did you do this? My wife rant over, okay?
Is there an app where you can look at men on their knees?
Yes!
I don't know, and I
Sort
don't
of,
want to know.
but not really.
Female nudity.
No, yes, absolutely. Yes. Just watch all kinds of things. Yes, of course. What are you saying? Yes, there's tons. There's an app where you can hook up with other dudes, and when you open the door, they are already going to be on their knees because that's what you both consented towards and talked about. It's like, yeah, when I show up at the hotel, you better already be on your knees, baby, and then I'm going to get that pussy. Yeah, that's a real thing that already exists in the real world. I'm sorry. You can sexualize men and women.
the female body is like more of a
Right, this is my
valuable
point. To these
commodity.
women on OnlyFans, my response is, you are an object. You've accepted your role. Good for you.
They
And
become caricatures.
There is a lot of dudes on OnlyFans. There's thousands and thousands of dudes where you can just see guys jerking off. There's no women involved. Women do not play a part of it. It's just a guy stroking his own dick, and that's the extent of the content you are buying. The women were not involved in the production of this experience. Yes, yes, Tim.
Because of themselves.
See how
This
the
girl,
feminist
like,
gears turn. It's
She's
a brilliant.
got like
I
these
don't like
ballooned
it.
lips,
Yeah.
and she's speaking as a baby.
I know. We know. I don't like it though. I don't like that this exists. I need to purge it somehow. Get rid of them, you know?
Voice. She's like the epitome of a bimbo, and not like not even in an ironic way. She completely embraces that role, but then says that, you know, I'm the disempowered one. I'm not supporting other women. Like, no, you're making a mockery of us.
I don't like OnlyFans.
Okay.
But I'm fairly libertarian.
But hey, I got a solution. I got an answer to all your problems, Tim. Don't go. Don't go. You don't gotta go. When the browser's open, you know, and the Vaseline's just to your right, and you're sitting there and you're like about to start typing, you don't have to. You can take your hands off the keyboard, back away, you know, maybe log in quickly and then just undo your subscriptions, because they're going to keep, like, they recharges every month kind of thing. And that's, I mean, it is good to support sex workers. So if you do enjoy their work on a regular basis, do that. Like, but honestly, you probably accept, but then it's over. It's like, whew, it's done. Oh, never again. Oh, this is, oh, it's so liberating. Look
So
at
it's
that.
like whatever. But I think it's a bad thing for society. I don't think it's good for women or women's empowerment. But my point is simply, if you want to do it, the logical argument is, how does it feel being on your knees for men in order to survive?
Tim, are we not all on our knees in one way or another? My friend, come on. And hey, I just want to say, I don't know if you've ever experienced the blowjob before, but they're quite fun and quite pleasurable. And so is reciprocity. Like, have you ever gone on your knee? I'm not ashamed to go on my knees and eat a woman out. I don't feel this is dehumanizing or emasculating. In fact, it levels my masculinity up. I feel more empowered by giving pleasure to a woman. I find it fun, enjoyable, and cool. I don't sit there being like, fucking patriarchy has me down below here. What's going on, bruh? You know?
Can't imagine that would feel good, right? And then when they try and argue I'm empowered, I'll be like, yeah, empowered to like be on your knees for a man, but let's be real. The guy who's giving you the money, he has money. He produces. He can do whatever he wants. And then as soon as you're old enough.
Yeah, and guess what? You don't have to ever see, meet, or know he exists. You don't sit there. Do you think the portal of OnlyFans is all of a sudden this thing opens up and then you just see like 100 like dudes like, oh God, whoa, tits. Like, no. It's a subscription service. You put the content out there, you sit back and you collect the paychecks. You can, if you wish to, interact with your fans. Some people do, some people don't. Some people want to have arm's length and distance from the entire process and just be like, hey, you getting off? Cool. You are buying my consent in these photos and these photos alone. Enjoy them and do with them as you will please. That's what I'm selling to you, and you're giving me money in exchange for this whole thing.
He'll forget all about you, but he will retain the skills that allow him to survive, which means by the time you're 35, 40, you're not going to be empowered. You're going to have nothing. And that guy who was throwing dollar bills at you, he's going to have a car, he's going to have an apartment, he's going to own a house, whatever.
I feel like he already did. I feel like he was in a decent situation. Like this fantasy man of your, like, you know, this let's say tech millionaire who's just like every now and then it's like, oh, I cannot resist the temptation to throw a couple dollars to a woman. But I do this because it makes her subservient to me. Like, you get that, right, Tim? In the opposite direction, for this to be true, for your scenario to work out, the dudes who buy OnlyFans have to be believing that they are making women in that moment subservient to them. And that is a genre, by the way. There are men who want that. There are men who want an experience where they have women grovel over them and shit like that. It kind of sounds like that's your thing, so people can buy that experience they want. But by default, just by someone having an OnlyFans, no. No, it does not make them subservient to all men, in that it doesn't make them subservient to all women who also buy their shit. If you have someone whose primary target demographic is like lesbians are the primary group of people who buy the ticket, who want that. It does not affect you in any way, Tim. Are those people still subservient to men? Even though like the vast majority of men do not jerk off to their content, it's not their demographic. They don't want to see this particular representation on screen.
And you will have nothing. That's it.
Yep.
That's why I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that.
Tim, let me ask you a question. So I agree that it's bad for society, but I want to know in your words why.
OnlyFans?
Yeah.
I kind of feel that he's spent a very, very long time describing this. This was the second half of the video. We've done that thing where like every video you ever click by Tim Pool, their attention span is so short that you can only get 4 minutes, maybe 1 minute of the actual content of the video. And then it just goes on to whatever tangent they want to talk and rant about. So I feel the second half of the majority of this video has been about Tim's hatred of OnlyFans.
I think there's a reason monogamy emerged within human civilization across the board for like basically every society. And for every different country.
That's not true. Please, any of you, oh goddamn, pick up a book. The other day, Matt Walsh was like, the very concept of transgenderism was invented by gays in the 60s to try and increase the power of the LGBTQ community. No, it wasn't, motherfuckers. There was Roman emperors who were trans. What are you talking about? Learn some fucking history. There's so many recorded and documented versions of trans people existing. It exists in other cultures, all right? Two-spirit isn't just trans people. It is a pretty catch-all term for a whole bunch of different LGBTQ representational people in the indigenous community. But yes, there were people within indigenous communities and bands, even if they were warring bands or rival bands, that were appearing that were not being identified as either men or women. They were felt to have both the spirits of men and women within them, that they were undefinable in that regard. This appears independent of the colonization of the West, and yet the colonization of the West and their societies also had trans people. Like trans people, like the thing that I stand by is even if you got rid of all the queers, you eliminated them. The fascist project worked out. Every single queer person was rounded up. No bisexuals, no lesbians, no gays, no nothing. No asexuals, nothing. Not a single one. You wouldn't get rid of them. They would just appear in the next generation. And then the generation after that. It would just be a repeating problem forever. They're a part of humanity. They just occur naturally within humanity. Like every other single person, like straight cis people. Maybe not at the high, not as high in numbers as straight cis people. Those are the ones, and the combination that appears most common, but that doesn't mean that they're not a part of humanity, you know?
Country, like we see very, very similar practices, and it's because it increases the likelihood of survival. I think the reason we're starting to see OnlyFans and things like this is because our massive population explosion, there's no longer any kind of evolutionary pressure to reproduce. In fact, quite the opposite. With politics, they're being like, stop having kids and abort them. So humans end up chasing after self-pleasure, video games, dopamine triggers, and sex. So what you end up with OnlyFans is one grain of sand in this heap of, I'll refer to the beautiful ones of Universe 25.
Mrs. Super Highbot says, as a two-spirits trans woman, this neocolonial rhetoric is extremely harmful and scary. Not to mention, not only harmful and scary, but also it's like, it's unique to these overlapping white supremacist transphobes who will love to be like, oh, this is a concept that just basically appeared because of the white gay community in the 60s. And again, it's like, no, this is multiple culture throughout society that had not experienced colonization, have their own expression or form or way of explaining or describing this. It kind of feels like all of these barbaric tribes they always go after is in this like, oh yes, these primitive natives, well, they figured this shit out. It seems like these primitive people you're always trying to vilify as being lesser than, and they should justify the colonization of them. Kind of feels like they had this concept figured out that you are still grappling with pretty heavily.
The rat utopia experiment. What we are witnessing, so you guys familiar with this?
No.
Guy put a bunch of mice and rats in a box, gave them unlimited food and water, and watched what happened.
Okay.
And they eventually destroyed themselves and died.
So, I happen to be someone who does love to read literature. And I'm guessing most of you have probably at one point or another read the book Ishmael. I'm assuming you've read Ishmael if you've had to do any kind of like, hey, we have to read a reading project. Good book. Story of B is better, but Ishmael was a good book. Certainly a good book for kind of trying to wrap and grapple your head around the entire concept of humans and their place within the animal world and all that kind of stuff. In that book and in several others, we'll talk about this experiment. And here's how it goes, just so you all know, because this one's, I remember it burned into my brain first time I watched this out. Animals seem to exhibit something known as a homeostasis, in that if you give rats a certain amount of food and space, that they will begin to multiply adequately to the amount of food and space that is available to them, and then they will level out at a certain point in order to maintain stability, as in they are not going to continue to multiply until the cage is just filled with rats or they all die. So Tim's actually directly lying as to what this observation shows. Within a controlled condition, within certain parameters, if you give them an X amount of food and X amount of space, they will continue to reproduce, but they will reach a plateau. And this is what is assumed to be a lot of animals, humans being the exception, because we kind of do destroy our environment. That's what they do. They reach a certain level, and then there could be a combination of factors that will implement whether or not evolution steers them in one direction, whether one certain species will obviously multiply at a higher number than another, and then have variations in the way they evolve as a result of their own conditions and environment. All that stuff plays into it as well. But Tim Pool is just dramatically incorrect if that's what he thinks the takeaway is from this. Given enough food and space, the rats just destroyed themselves. No, the point of this experiment is that animals can reach a balancing act with the resources that are available to them and their population size, whereas human beings don't seem to do that. We have been infinitely expanding on a planet with finite resources, and now some people are starting to posit that we're reaching that kind of critical juncture where, of course, there are less resources than there are sustainability for the amount of population. But of course, that usually plays into eco-fascism and then some other weird shit like that. Tangents, and we're also not rats. That's the other thing, is that we're not rats. So there's that.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback, because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demmel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.